Hi, I'm Sari Sudhakaran. In this video, I'll explain the mystery of Mulholland Drive as I see it and the solution. I've assumed two things: that it's a real mystery. First, David Lynch himself has given us clues, which we'll go over in this video. I'm assuming they're not practical jokes played on his audience, and maybe he was seriously giving us clues to solve the mystery of Mulholland Drive. The second reason is, if you watch Mulholland Drive many times and if you study it, you'll see that it's not a stream of consciousness thing. There are a lot of clues and references, and they're all tying together in very logical ways. And that's not possible if you just write without thinking about the consequences and the details. So it shows there's a lot of method and a lot of thought and logic to this madness. It's not random at all. And before we go ahead, I have to warn you, there are spoilers ahead. So if you haven't watched the film, please do so. It's an amazing film. You have to watch it at least a couple of times before you watch this video, or it'll just suck the fun out of it. Now, we can approach this many ways. I'm going to start with one of the clues David Lynch provides, and that is, can you hear the title of the film that Adam Kesher is auditioning actresses for? Is it mentioned again? The title of the film Adam Kesher is auditioning actresses for is The Sylvia North Story. Now, if you take the name Sylvia North, Sylvia means forest. So is this story about a North forest? Then you have the name of Diane Selwyn. Diane is from Deep River, Ontario. If you look at the map, Deep River, Ontario is a forest, and Canada is up north, so you could assume that Deep River, Ontario is also, in a way, North Forest. And then if you look at the map of LA, you'll see there is a North Forest in LA as well. And there is also a place called Deep River. Then there's the name Diane Selwyn. Selwyn means good friend. You can see all these surnames Lynch has selected is not random at all. And it applies to Camilla Rhodes as well. Rhodes comes from a clearing in the woods, or basically just road. So Camilla Rhodes could stand for the road that goes through the North Forest. If you add Diane Selwyn's name to it, what you get is road leads good friend through the North Forest. Amazing. It kind of all ties in together. And then you have another clue by David Lynch. An accident is a terrible event. Notice the location of the accident. The exact location is near Adam Kesher's house, which is 6980 Mulholland Drive. If you highlight the key locations of the film in Google Maps, that is every spot in which both Diane and Camilla have been together, what you get is a straight line right from Deep River to Mulholland Drive. It's amazing. It goes through Paramount Studio, where Diane auditioned and where she supposedly met Camilla for the first time, and it also goes close to their house. Both houses, in fact. 1612 Havenhurst Drive is somewhere along the line, and so is a place called Sierra Bonita Avenue. Sierra Bonita Apartments does not exist, so you could assume this is what David Lynch meant, and these locations fall on this line. So it's basically a story of North Forest, or Camilla and Diane, through Hollywood following this path. All this isn't coincidental. The other two important locations in the film are Winkies and Club Silencio, neither of which exist in reality. They shot in actual locations, but they're not related to where they fit in the storyline. Winkies is supposed to be somewhere on Sunset Boulevard, and you could place it exactly on a point on the line somewhere. Doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the outcome of the story. So this is the road that Diane, the good friend, follows, or Camilla follows, from Deep River to Paramount Studios, where their fates intertwine. And then it's very interesting how the names and locations actually all fall into a logical pattern. And then there's the idea of two people, or a pair. Diane and Camilla is a pair. And if you look at all the stories in the film, they're all about two people. Could these people be two sides of a coin, or could these two people represent Diane and Camilla? So for example, you have two people in suits at Winkies. They're the exact same. One's quiet and one's agitated. Then you have two mafia guys, one quiet and one agitated, but they also wearing suits. You have two crooks, one cool and one agitated. You have two actresses, one quiet and one agitated. So the question I had was, are these two people, Diane and Camilla, two different people, or are they the same person? If they're the same person, do the clues fit in perfectly? Let's see. And let's start from the beginning. Lynch says pay particular attention to the beginning of the film. At least two clues are revealed before the credits. The first big clue is the jitterbug contest. The jitterbug contest shots have one glaring omission. There's no Diane in the frame. She isn't dancing. So how did she win the competition? Surely, if Lynch wanted to show that far back into her past, he would show her dancing as well. But he didn't. Which goes on to say Diane never took part in the jitterbug contest. Maybe it was all made up. The second clue is a red bedsheet. Apparently Diane Selwyn's bed, which we'll see later. We see somebody waking up and then going back to sleep again. So the first thought is Diane wakes up or goes to sleep. Or it could also mean Diane dies. Neither of these two scenarios actually tie in with everything else in the film. They stick out like a sore thumb. But there is a third possibility. What if this isn't Diane? What if it's Camilla? So why is Camilla on Diane's bed? This shot bookends the film in a way which indicates that everything we see in the film is a dream. Everything. And this is confirmed to Camilla directly.
It's all recorded. It is all a tape.
This is very interesting. Let's see where it leads us. In the first scene, the title credits where Camilla is stopped in a car close to Adam Kesher's house, it appears she's in trouble with people. Somebody's pointing a gun at her, so that much is certain. And it's also pretty obvious the way they talk to her that something bad is about to happen to Camilla. She's in trouble. This, quote, "I'm in trouble," unquote thing is going to repeat many times over the course of this film.
Gee, I hope you're not going to get in any trouble.
Someone is in trouble.
Louis Bonner said there's trouble in there.
Why is Camilla in trouble? Maybe she's lost her utility to the mafia, maybe she stole money. We don't know at this point. But it's clear that the mafia want to get rid of her. She sees it quite clearly in her dreams. But she doesn't get killed. She survives in an accident. Lynch tells us the accident is a terrible thing. But it happens to Camilla, not Diane. Why is this so terrible? She survived the accident. How come it's so terrible? It's only terrible, and the only straightforward answer is that she lost her memory, or possibly everything, through this accident. It completely finished her life even though she survived. So then we have to work out how that happened. After the accident, Camilla walks back to Sunset Boulevard and to Havenhurst, apparently, and into a random apartment. There she goes to sleep and dreams about two detectives. Again, one cool, one agitated. And they talk about a missing girl who's wearing pearl earrings.
Any of those dead kids wearing pearl earrings?
It's Camilla's thing, pearl earrings. Everyone who wears pearl earrings could be Camilla. After the scene, Camilla goes back to sleep again. Maybe she's trying to regain her memory after the accident. So we have the scene at Winky's. If Camilla was living at Sunset Boulevard, it would explain Winky's. It's where she hangs out. In this conversation between these two men, imagine Camilla is the man, and this man is on the other side. This is why he appears again in that position later on in the story. She's trying to regain her memory, so she mixes up names and identities at first. It's up to the audience to piece together her memory for her. So she realizes that her future is behind the wall. It's her dream that she's recounting to another man who doesn't exist, basically. See, that man is also a good friend. He's also a Diane Selwyn, helping Camilla through the North Forest. So she realizes her future is behind the wall. There's a bum there. Everyone references this bum as a man, even David Lynch. He says, note the occurrences surrounding the man behind Winky's, except it's not a man. The role is played by a woman. Lynch could have cast a man if he wanted to. If it was a man, he probably would have. Why did he cast a woman? So the bum is actually a woman, and she has dark hair, just like Camilla. She wears black, just like Camilla. So Camilla knows she's there behind the wall because most likely that's where she is right now, imagining this entire dream. And that's heavy. So the first time the bum is shown in the man's dream, it appears as a shock to Camilla because she knows there's something there. She knows it's probably her, and it's very scary to her to see her future there, and she walks towards the wall. And when the bum appears, it answers one important question, that the bum exists. It's not a figment of her imagination. It's real, and it really scares her. When the film ends, the bum is still alive, which means Camilla is alive, behind Winky's. Maybe her memory hasn't returned entirely, and maybe it's too late now. She's disfigured and no longer useful to her own vanity, which also explains the disfigured body somewhere in the middle of the film, which we'll come to. So every time a breakthrough happens in Camilla's memory, we return to Winky's, because that's where the key to the next step in her story is found. So it's kind of a breakthrough place, Winky's. So if you imagine the conversation the two men are having, and you imagine if they're not men, but they're actually Camilla and Diane, then things make a lot more sense. Because he says,
It's the second one I've had. You're in both dreams.
These words make a lot more sense when you see it in that light. And after the scene, we see Camilla still asleep. Lynch is trying to tell us she's sleeping and possibly dreaming. We have a scene where somebody says,
"The girl is still missing."
They didn't say dead, mind you, so there's no body. They're not sure where she is. All they know is that a girl is missing. And this is when we have the first breakthrough for Camilla after the scene in Winky's. And the breakthrough arrives in the form of Diane. Most commentators and critics I've seen focus on Mulholland Drive as Diane's or Betty's story. It appears that she's the main character of Mulholland Drive, but that's an illusion. To me, Mulholland Drive is Camilla's story. There's no doubt about it. Coco gives Diane the keys to the apartment because Coco gave Camilla a place to hide, away from her troubles. This answers Lynch's other clue. Who gives a key and why? Coco gives her a key because you can see in the final scene when we meet Coco as Adam Kesher's mother, she is sympathetic to Diane. It's possible that whoever Adam Kesher is marrying or getting into a relationship with, Coco doesn't like her, and Coco prefers Camilla or Diane. This is why in Camilla's dream, Coco is giving Diane the key, because Coco is a sympathetic person. It also answers the other clue. Did talent alone help Camilla? The answer is no. Coco helped her. Coco helped her find an apartment maybe. Coco helped her try to get by and try to build a relationship with Adam Kesher maybe. It's possible. And that's why in her dreams, Coco is a sympathetic person, is a friend. Maybe Camilla was talented. So there's no reason to believe that her talent sucked. We do see an audition of Camilla Rhodes where she sings a song for Adam Kesher, but later on we realize that he's not the director of the film, the Sylvia North story.
The director.
Bob Brooker?
So maybe the audition was just something in her mind. Maybe she sucked for herself. Maybe that's how she explained away the fact that she couldn't land the part, but maybe she doesn't suck. Maybe she's talented after all. And the other aspect of it is the word talent actually refers to actors in Hollywood. So if you look at it that way, did actors alone help Camilla? And the answer is no, Coco helped her. But who was this actor who helped Camilla? And we think it's Diane because we give Diane existence because she's in the film. But if Diane didn't exist, who is this second or other actress? We'll talk about that later. Bottom line, what we get is that Camilla has some arrangement with her aunt. It is not defined what the arrangement is. We think she's somewhere filming something or whatever. She's got connections. But Aunt Ruth maybe, possibly existed in some form. It doesn't matter to the way the story is told. And that's probably why Coco doesn't know what Diane's arrangement with Aunt Ruth is. Nobody knows anything about Aunt Ruth. And that's probably because a lot of Aunt Ruth is made up and not real. Then we have when Diane appears at the airport, she talks to an elderly couple, and when they're alone in the car, they smirk like crazy people. Like, maybe they pulled one over her or something. Maybe they're laughing at what Camilla has in store in the future. And the only person who would know that is Camilla, not Diane. At that point, Diane wouldn't know anything. So the person dreaming is Camilla. And that's why she sees those elderly people in that light. And this is justified later in the story. They wouldn't be laughing at Betty. They were just talking nicely to her. There's no reason for them to laugh at Betty in the beginning unless they knew what was going to happen to her at the end. And the only person who shares that knowledge is Camilla. I hope the logic there is clear. So when Diane is in her apartment and she discovers Camilla taking a shower, after that sequence, she tells Camilla,
I just came here from Deep River, Ontario, and now I'm in this dream place. Well, you can imagine how I feel.
And immediately Camilla swoons. Why would she swoon? Because she is from Deep River, Ontario, and she hears the name and it brings back a very strong memory. There's no other reason for her to swoon at that exact sentence. Throughout the story, it's pretty clear that Betty or Diane doesn't have any ties to the mafia. Camilla Rhodes could have, but this Camilla Rhodes probably didn't have any tie to the mafia because it's never shown. No direct connection, no direct conversation, nothing. So in the Adam Kesher scene, when they say,
This is the girl.
Who is this girl who's wearing pearl earrings? Is it Camilla? Is it another actress? Only a few people would know what goes on in casting. Now, in this case, the actress whose photo you see on paper might have replaced Camilla Rhodes on this film, and Camilla Rhodes would know, because somehow she made friends with that actress. Maybe. Maybe not, because we never see them interacting other than at the end, when they share a kiss. So after we have the scene with Adam Kesher, we arrive at the scene where Joe kills Ed, and you can see he's a bungling idiot. He can't do a job properly. Before that, they joke about the accident.
An accident like that, who could have foreseen that? It's unreal, right? Fucking car accident.
Only Camilla knows about the accident, so they know what happened after the fact, and they joke as if the accident never happened. But if you think about it, if you replace Joe and Ed with Camilla and Diane, you can see how the words might make sense. Camilla is laughing at the strangeness of an accident. Who could have foreseen an accident happening at that time to save her life? And the next sentence is important because he says,
Gee, I hope you're not going to get in any trouble.
there's that word trouble again. Did this accident lead to trouble for Camilla? Very interesting. Then Diane speaks to Aunt Ruth, but Camilla doesn't remember her name yet, so they don't know who anybody is. The identity is an issue, which is why Aunt Ruth doesn't know a Rita, but she probably would know a Camilla.
I don't know who I am.
Camilla doesn't know her name at this point. Then Diane, good friend, helps Camilla navigate the forest by helping her with a clue, a key in her purse, a blue key that leads to something. There's also money. The money might seem like an afterthought, like a MacGuffin or something. It's not a real MacGuffin, but it could mean one thing, that Camilla maybe stole some money from whoever she got in trouble with. Then in the next scene, we see Joe looking for a black-haired girl, and he's talking to a blonde that looks a lot like Diane. We already know he's a bungling murderer, but it shows he doesn't see a difference between Diane and Camilla. He's an idiot. That's probably why. And then you have this statement.
I wonder where you were going.
And Camilla answers,
Mulholland Drive.
You can see how the scenes logically flow from one to the other. For example, in this scene, they want to know where she was going, and then we have the Adam Kesher scene, where he says,
I'm going home.
which is 6980 Mulholland Drive, the center of the story. It's funny what happens next. Adam walks in on his wife having an affair, and has insult added to injury, and that added to a fall of pride. But a couple of scenes later, he gets his revenge. Maybe not directly. If this were Diane's dream, this wouldn't matter. But in Camilla's dream, her affinity for Adam gets him his job back and the house. It's clear Camilla has a soft spot for Adam. That's why justice is served. After the auditions are called and we learn the film is going ahead again, they hide the blue key. Because Camilla at this point doesn't want to probably get to know the truth completely in a subconscious way. But immediately thereafter she returns to Winky's and sees Diane the waitress, who's actually Betty the waitress probably. So the first Winky's was a dream, the second Winky's is the second visit. Now she remembers her name, Diane Selwyn, so they have to look for her. Logical, straightforward. Also notice two guys driving by, parked besides in another scene, and maybe later two guys looking for you. So people are looking for Camilla, and these people dressed in suits look like FBI agents more than mafia men, even though everybody in this film is wearing a suit. But it's pretty obvious people are looking for Camilla, and she's in trouble. She's the one hiding. So when they go past, or when she sees her on the road, she's the one who's scared. So obviously they're not looking for Diane, they're looking for Camilla. Then they call Diane Selwyn, and Diane says,
It's strange to be calling yourself.
Now here's a funny thing. Betty, or Diane, is calling herself. That's what the scene implies on the surface, correct? But she doesn't recognize her own voice. But the same logic can apply to Camilla as well. What if she cannot recognize her voice either? She has forgotten what it sounds like over the telephone, just like everybody else, who has never heard their voice over the telephone for the first time. It sounds different. So maybe the voice they're hearing is Camilla's, but Camilla doesn't know that. She doesn't recognize her voice. At this time, Lewis appears, who gives us more clues in terms of dialogue. When Betty says,
My name's Betty.
No, it's not. That's not what she said. Someone is in trouble. Something bad is happening.
trouble again. So it's pretty clear. Diane's name isn't Betty, and of course the person in trouble is Camilla. But only she can know that, right? Then we have the cowboy meeting at the corral. Again, these words could also be meant for Camilla. When Adam changes his attitude, Camilla's fortunes change as well. Maybe it's Camilla who changed her attitude. And the cowboy warns her.
Now you will see me one more time if you do good. You'll see me 2 more times if you do bad.
Funny fact, we see him twice. We see in the rehearsals that they have that Diane is a good actress. Or maybe Camilla is. Or maybe she's fine in her head. Coco interrupts this rehearsal, and it's possible that Coco is also aware that Camilla is talented, which explains her soft spot. Again, going ahead in the story, Diane auditions for the part as Diane Selwyn, but loses the role to another girl. But we also see there is a connection between Camilla and Adam. It's pretty clear Camilla wants to be with Adam at his house, and that's her destination in Hollywood. She wants to be there. She wants to get there. Mulholland Drive. That's the goal. At the end of the scene, when Adam Kesher says,
This is the girl.
Realize that Diane isn't within earshot. She can't hear what he said. Most people around him didn't hear that. So there's no reason for her to run away or leave him behind. Even though she knows she has to go to Diane Selwyn's house with her friend Rita, she could have pushed it off for another day. It wouldn't, be earth-shattering. Could spend a few more minutes talking to Adam Kesher, so there was no reason for her to run away unless she's controlled like a mannequin by Camilla. Hope that makes sense. Then the two go on looking for Diane Selwyn, and we learn two things. First, Diane has shifted her apartment. Now, why would anybody do that? Maybe to reduce the rent because the second one is worse than the first one, looks worse. But it could also be to hide from other people because the rent's not going to be very different. The better reason is that she wanted to hide from people, and people that really scare her, like the mafia. It wouldn't be easy to fool the police because they'd find out, but the mafia might give up. And this is where they find a body. Now notice the body has black hair and a black dress. It's not a blonde. It's not Diane. And the face is disfigured. This face disfigured thing is important. Camilla can't see her own face. She wants to not see her face. And the neighbor doesn't recognize Diane or Camilla because neither of them exist for her. For her, it's Camilla who looks like Diane. It's confusing, but we'll look at that. Also notice there's no gun next to the body. And the position of the body is different from the suicide shown later. So this is in a dream, there's no real body. The camera shake shows how Camilla is frustrated seeing herself on the bed. It's time for her to change because her identity is in question. She can see herself in the mirror. She knows she's got black hair and she's wearing a black dress even after she lost her memory. So seeing that body, which looks like her, is very scary. There's no question it's Camilla. So in the very next scene, Camilla cuts her hair. And Diane says a very instructive thing.
I know what you have to do.
Do what? Cut her hair? Why does she have to cut her hair? Just because she saw a body. There's no logical flow to that sentence. But why would Camilla have to cut her hair? And it is because she wanted to change her appearance. She wanted to hide from the mafia and become a blonde, which is the exact polar opposite of being a brunette. So the only logical answer in the context of why Camilla is in trouble is that she wanted to change her identity, change her apartment, become a blonde, change her name to Diane Selwyn. So Diane Selwyn and Camilla are the same person. That's why we have all these lovemaking scenes with Diane and Camilla, and Diane says,
I'm in love with you.
but Camilla doesn't reply because she doesn't love the fact that she has to be Diane. It's a disguise. After all this is figured out, they go to Club Silencio. And over there, Camilla faces the reality of all the stuff that she has done, that she's a bad person probably. And Lynch gives us a question. What is felt, realized, and gathered at Club Silencio? What is felt? Loneliness. Camilla is lonely. She really doesn't have anything. If she had a true friend in Diane, they could bounce their problems off each other and maybe try to resolve things. But Camilla is alone. She doesn't have anybody. No Aunt Ruth, no Diane, no Coco, nobody. And right now, trying to remember her past life, she isn't even sure about her identity. Is she Diane or is she Camilla? She's not sure. See, that's the problem. Second thing, what is realized at Club Silencio is that Betty or Diane is an illusion. She doesn't exist except as Camilla's secret identity. And what is gathered? The box. The blue box that ends this part of the story. This blue box is later in Camilla's hand or the bum's hand at the end. How did it reach there? The last person to hold the blue box was Camilla in the apartment. This also explains the scene at Winky's where Diane shows a photo to Joe, and she's showing Joe Camilla's photo. Notice they don't specifically discuss a hit. It could be a way for Camilla to get rid of her existence by faking her death. Joe only sees a blonde, which is why he's always with a blonde and is looking for a black-haired girl. I mean, Camilla must have done something stupid to get into so much trouble that all this is a huge problem for her. And this trouble involves some kind of death because it's all around us, in the dead body. It's always about death here. It's not just about some money that she stole. And then we have the clues. Notice the robe, the ashtray, the coffee cup by David Lynch. Now these clues are given by Lynch to tell us which scenes belong together chronologically speaking. Joe tells us she'll find the key after the job is done, yet the key is right next to Diane after she wakes up. So what job was done prior? The change in appearance, that's what happened prior. So Camilla changed her appearance to Diane and then met with Joe to get some job done. Earlier in the film, after the accident, a call comes into Diane's home, but she doesn't pick up. We recognize the red lamp and ashtray, which Lynch asks us to recognize. She picks up the phone later for the party. So in all the lovemaking scenes between Camilla and Diane, we see that Camilla appears and cannot completely disappear from Diane's life because she is Camilla inside. They can't get rid of each other, and Diane says,
It's not easy for me! Diane!
And that's what she meant by it. So after they return from Club Silencio, notice Diane disappears instantly because now it's just about Camilla. She has realized that Diane doesn't exist. It's her. She's changed her identity, and she's got a blue box, which probably is symbolic to the identity change. She drops the box, and the camera follows her for some reason. She goes into a kind of box or in kind of a limbo state, and that's probably because Camilla leaves the home at that point. And that's when we see Camilla's body on the bed again. First, she's not decaying or whatever, maybe she's just dead, and then again, she's dead. Did she kill the girl she exchanged rooms with, maybe? So that she didn't point out her apartment to others? Maybe that's what happened over there? Or maybe she killed the actress who got the role that she really wanted. Because the body has black hair, and nobody else does, not even Aunt Ruth. So the only person the body could have been is either Camilla or her neighbor. So is this why she's in trouble? Maybe, she killed the lead actress, Adam Kesher's actual girlfriend. She stole some money, and now she's changed her identity to get away a bit or something. Is that what happened before her accident and before her memory loss? It had to be something serious. The second appearance of the cowboy in the dinner scene tells us that she did something bad. She didn't do a good thing, she did a bad thing, which is why he appears twice. So anyway, when Camilla's story ends, after she changes her identity, after Club Silencio, when the entire change has taken place, she becomes Diane, and Diane wakes up after that point. And we learn she's been off for a few weeks. She's living like a hermit, boxes and all on the floor, but the key's there, which means chronologically speaking, this has happened after the change, maybe after the hit was supposed to take place or something. So Camilla is now Diane Selvin. And then her neighbor says,
Oh, by the way, those 2 detectives came by again looking for you.
So there is an active case going on in which people are looking for a person with blonde hair. For me, the presence of a body on the bed signifies that somebody actually was murdered. And there's also a suicide in the end. So murder or death is an important part of the story. It's not just about stealing something or doing something stupid, but not killing anybody. Somebody was killed. And who was killed? If Diane doesn't exist, then the person killed only could have been the actress who got the role instead of Camilla Rose. So she ordered a hit, and after the hit was done, she didn't think it through. The mafia was behind her, and of course the police was behind her as well. That would also explain the body, the black hair, which is what you need to audition for the role of a character. Usually casting calls are specific to hair type and body type sometimes. Sometimes the characters are written that way. She's a blonde woman or she's a brunette. It's in the script. So when you cast for that part, you look for actors with that exact physical attributes. You don't go for a brunette if you're casting for a blonde. Some people do. It's not universal, but it gives you the idea that the second actress, maybe she was a blonde, which explains the third girl. If Camilla wanted to become a blonde just to get a role, that explains it on one level, but it could also be the reverse, the alternative. Doesn't matter. It doesn't change the trajectory of the story because it's a detail that David Lynch doesn't explain in the film in any scene or in any dialogue, so we don't know for sure. Then we have another sex scene where Camilla says,
I shouldn't do this anymore.
On the surface, it seems they're talking about their affair, but it could also mean the pretense of being another person. Camilla always wants to go out as herself. She doesn't want to be a blonde all the time, but it's not safe to do so. Otherwise, why couldn't she? It's LA, it's Hollywood, nobody would care. You could also explain the jealous scene, because Camilla really wanted to be with Adam, but she noticed the other actress is probably falling in love with him and they're having an affair. It makes her really jealous and want to kill her maybe. That explains the motive of why she wanted to go through with the murder. And it probably also means that this actress invited Camilla for the party. So when Diane is talking to Camilla across the table and this actress comes in and kisses Camilla, it could be what Camilla knows about the actress, that maybe they had an affair as well, similar to Diane and Camilla. But she's just two-timing Adam Kesher, and maybe just after his money or something, which Coco probably feels as well, which is why she's sympathetic. But the problem is there's also mafia present at the party. So this actress is well backed by powerful people, and they have now seen Camilla, maybe seen her as a blonde. I don't know. So the kids probably explains that Camilla had an affair with the actress, which also could explain the masturbation scene later. Camilla is masturbating, but to whom? To whose picture or to whose image? Probably the actress. Also in the party scene, notice how Camilla takes Diane up the garden path. Literally, good friend walking through the North Forest. So after the scene, we have Diane, which is Camilla, with Joe. She wants to get this actress killed. Note that she doesn't go to the mafia. If it was the real Camilla, with real powerful mafia connections, who got the role over Diane Selvin, she would go to the mafia to kill somebody. But here, it's Diane who wants to kill somebody, and she goes to a lower rung person and explains that Camilla went to this idiot to try to get the job done. This could also explain the scene between Joe and Ed, because Joe shot Ed and bungled it. Is this the way the actress was killed? Was she killed in this manner? Who knows? So after this Winky scene, you see the bum behind the wall with the blue box. So Camilla did what she did, but changing into Diane or becoming Diane Selvin didn't help her. That doesn't save her, so she has to get rid of Diane's identity. So Camilla drops the blue box as the bum, and out come the demons. So in her memory, Diane Selvin is no longer required. It's a done thing. So Diane takes her own life, but the smoke and other effects make it clear this is still a dream. The bum is dreaming, isn't she? Because she looks so sad. The bum is Camilla, because this is where she lives today with her memories, unable to get back to society for fear of being arrested or killed or both, or maybe her memory has never come back completely. She doesn't know if she's Betty or Diane or Camilla. She's mixed up her identities in real life, and now after the car crash, which is a terrible event, she can no longer figure out who she is. She knows the story, but she doesn't know who she is in it, which is exactly the feeling we get watching the film as an audience. So in a nutshell, what is the mystery of Mulholland Drive? Camilla is a struggling actress who lost a part to another actress because of her connections or whatever. She forms a relationship with her maybe even tries to blackmail her. When nothing worked, Camilla changed identity to become a blonde and got the actress killed so she could move up the Hollywood ladder. But that backfired because now both the mafia and police are looking for her. She escapes from the mafia, but the police find her. Camilla has no choice but to get rid of the Diane personality and gets into an accident, loses her memory, and ends up as a bum behind Winkies. Her story has many parallels with Sunset Boulevard, the film, where in Sunset the character has a fall from grace after being an erstwhile star. In Mulholland Drive, it's about the fall of a struggling actress into oblivion. I hope all this makes sense. If you're still awake, hit like and subscribe. Otherwise, this video will just seem like a dream. I'll see you